to where we are. Okay. But you see, our focus is not lost. For your information, Galana today produces every month 30,000 bags of maize, every month. And with the dam being constructed, we will realize the 1 million acres once we do the dam.
So now,
it will take us maybe 3, another 4, another 5 years before we get there. We will need to rejig the configuration of how to bring in the private sector so that it is not entirely a government project, so that we can leverage the efficiency of the private sector to deliver on this.
So for this Kenyan sitting at home,
yes,
you're seeking another contract with Kenyans.
Correct.
You have not fulfilled what you promised in 2013, 1 million acres. You're talking about 100,000 acres now. That's 900,000 acres less. Now you're saying you're going to put another 1.2 million acres under irrigation.
Absolutely.
So why should they believe you if you have already failed
we have
in the function of 1 million acres?
We have demonstrated where nobody has tried. Nobody has tried irrigation to the scale that we are talking about. Right? And for your information, even when you talk about food security, I was Minister for Agriculture.
Yes.
We had a food deficit in 2008. We had a food deficit in 2009. We had a food deficit in 2011. Right? Almost every other year in the Grand Coalition government. In this government, because of the subsidy program we have put in place, because of the working between us and the county government, because of the 100,000 more acres we have put under food production, we didn't have a problem in 2013, we didn't have a problem in 2014, we didn't have a problem in 2015, in 2016, we had a problem this year. Why? And the problem this year was because we had a longer drought period that stretched beyond what we had estimated.
And you said it very rightly. You were agriculture minister in 2008.
Absolutely.
We had experienced also a drought at that time, stretching all the way to 2011. In October last year, several warnings were given as to the problem we are going to have this year because of we were not getting enough production over the, in 2016. So, I mean, isn't this, I mean, an unresponsive government? Because up to February 2015, this year, the Minister of Agriculture kept on saying, we will not import maize until June. We have enough maize.
You see, importation of maize, you're saying, is a very delicate issue. Because to solve the problem of shortage of food, you cannot, as a government, be thinking about how to import. Your first line of action cannot be to import. Your first line of action is how do you produce locally. And you see, the moment you talk about importation, we have been in the hole in this country because of importation.
And we're back there.
I know that. No, we are not there. We are not there. We have been in the hole. No, I'm saying sometimes you import and destroy your own local production capacity. And to be able to import, there must be a delicate balance between you import enough, not to oversupply and destroy your local farmers. And if we had done any importation in February, we would not run into problems with our farmers, with our local farmers. Because the notion they would have is, you know, local farmers, my friend, have sold maize for 400 shillings a bag. They don't want to go there, right? So we must keep the balance that we must keep our local farmers happy to be able to produce, because that is where production is. And let me give you a bit of history. Just 1 minute. When I talk about we have done a good job in terms of production, in the history of Kenya, the year that we have produced the highest number of maize in Kenya is 2015, under the Jubilee administration. We have consistently managed to do the right thing. We had a challenge in this year, and the solution is not with our competitors, let me tell you, because they don't have any. Our competitors know nothing about subsidy. They don't say it in their manifesto. Our competitors don't have anything to do with irrigation. They don't have a plan. Our competitors are against any dam construction. You've seen them, including yesterday. They were running a rhetoric against Itare Dam, I don't know, Posto Dam.
What they're saying is they're taking water tower.
This. You know, it's a very woolly exercise. So I want to tell the people of Kenya that the party with the solution on matters food production, and I say this confidently, is the Jubilee administration.
How can you say that? When 4 years ago you said, bei ya unga itakuja 60 shillings, it has never happened. All this time you've been, for the last 4.5 years. Again, how can you say that? You're talking about a delicate balance. But today, Kenyans don't have maize. They can get unga on the shelves.
Hussein, this is a temporary problem. You
Why
know,
is it a problem? That is the thing.
You cannot predicate a nation on a problem of months. We have a bigger problem, a bigger agenda. And let me tell you, why did we zero in on 57 dams? When I talk to the people of Kenya from here, I am telling them we have a credible, proven plan on food production. We've done subsidy of fertilizer. It has reached every farmer without issues. We have an irrigation program. It ran into challenges. It is now beginning to produce. We have 57 dams around the country that will increase the area of production under irrigation to 1.2 million acres. The dams are identified. The designs have been done. We have the ball. Our competitors read their manifesto. They tell us they are going to have a baraza, something called Security Council meeting. They are going to have a baraza to discuss, which means they don't have a plan.
Okay.
They are not talking about irrigation. In their manifesto, there is not a single sentence on irrigation. They say they are going to build stores. You build stores to store what? I mean, the challenge is production. And that is where the Jubilee manifesto is targeting.
Okay, but
and that is where we are going.
But do you agree? We are in this problem today.
Yeah.
Because food is a big problem. For Kenyans to lack their staple food on shelves today at supermarkets and other retail stores, it's a big problem. We are in this problem, yet we were given warnings early enough because the government was just unresponsive.
You see, Hussein, if you say what you're saying, if it was a Kenyan problem, we would understand. But the problem of food is not in Kenya. It is not in Tanzania. It is not in East Africa. It's a regional affair. We have a deficit. And the solution going forward is not in importing. That is a temporary solution. The solution going forward is what we are proposing as Jubilee. The 57 mega dams that we are building around the country that will give us the water for irrigation that will change that dynamic. And already we have proven that in Galana it is doable, except that we need to do certain things. That's why we are not only building the dam in Galana, we are also targeting another 57 dams around the country, including Lowat in Turkana, including the dam in Baringo, including Tuji, including every other part of our country.
Okay, I think that's now for Kenyans to judge and decide. You're the jury out there. Very briefly again, another issue. Let's talk about the economy, infrastructure and economy. These are the promises you're making in this manifesto. You're talking about expanding the SGR to Malaba. That is the second phase. Expanding the Nairobi-Mombasa highway to a 6-lane highway. Complete the Lapset project. The 57 large-scale dam construction you're talking about. 1.3 million jobs annually. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Sorry?
We have a plan for that.
Okay. And
I will tell you shortly.
Okay. And generate 1 trillion shillings in savings. That is 200 billion shillings every year. Because this is you're talking about wastage, isn't it? And less tax for low-income earners. So, Your Excellency, the national debt currently stands at 4.1 trillion shillings, up from 1.8 in March 2013 when Jubilee took power. We have had a budget deficit of 900 billion in this budget cycle. With all these ambitious projects you're talking about, what is really the cost of your manifesto? Are you working with any figures here? Where are we getting the money and the funds to do all this?
We have costed the manifesto. We are a very responsible government. That is why, as I talk to you today, Kenya has not defaulted in any payment. We haven't had a problem with our development partners. In fact, the IMF and World Bank have always signed off on every borrowing that we have made because we have not borrowed to go and pay salaries. Whatever we have borrowed is money meant to stimulate the economy so that we can grow the economy, get more money, pay our debts, and change people's lives. So when you talk about when we talk about creating 1.3 million jobs, we have clearly, we have clearly demonstrated how are we going to get those 1.3 million jobs. Let me tell you, when we did the SGR, many people are wondering what is the connection between the SGR, between the energy distribution that is going around the country, between the roads that are being built around the country. Our aim as Jubilee is two things. Number one is to make sure that we industrialize the country. Every item that we produce in Kenya must be processed. That is a target. That is why we have a special economic zone bill that is now in place.
Okay.
And for your information, the building of the standard gauge railway is not just so that people can take a lift and travel to Mombasa with 900 shillings. The more reason why we are building the standard gauge railway is because we want to reduce the cost of transport and make ourselves a competitive destination for investment and for job creation.
Right. So
number two, and all this we have done in our manifesto in terms of making sure that we connect what will change the lives of people, what will help us grow the economy, and what will enable us, whatever money we've borrowed, to make sure that we pay.
So in the meantime, immediately, to implement all this, what you're telling me, you're telling Kenyans tonight, is there'll be more borrowing.
What I'm telling you, Hussein, is that we have prudently looked at all our pledges, whether we are talking about the internship program, right? The internship program, which will cost us about 15 billion shillings. That internship program will change the fortunes of 100,000 young people. Any young person graduating from a polytechnic, from a technical training college, from all our universities will know that for between 1 and 1.5 years, they will get 15,000 shillings every month, participate in an internship, get their skills right, get their experience in, and make sure that they get the right jobs, or they themselves can become employers.
Okay.
So we have costed everything we have done.
So what are we expecting? In billions, what are we expecting to get? And you're also talking about less tax for low-income earners.
Let me tell you, my friend Hussein, borrowing is no sin. If you are borrowing to do the right thing, if you are borrowing for consumption, then you are headed in the wrong direction. But if you are, of course, certainly will not be borrowing to do internship. We will know where to make sure that goes. Our competitors are telling us they want to engage us in a referendum. That's the first thing they say. They want to do a referendum to create 4 jobs for the so-called principals, spend 20 billion shillings to create 4 jobs. We are telling them we will spend 20 billion shillings to run the internship program for all our young people. That 20 billion shillings is enough for us to create 1,000 hubs around the country where we have Wi-Fi, and we can put 1 million young people on Wi-Fi and make sure that they get online jobs. They are telling us they want to scrap the laptop project, for example, and replace it with something called book donation initiative. Really? In a country of the 21st century, how can anybody be telling us we will leave the laptops and go and read books
that
are being donated, I don't know from who?
There's a text here that I think is important to respond to very quickly.
Let me say this, Hussein, finally. There is one statement that I agree with the former Prime Minister. He says the difference between Jubilee and NASA is like day and night. That was my statement. He says he agrees with it, and I say I agree with it. Because if you look at the difference, while they are saying they will change the constitution, we are saying we are going to have 100,000 young people in internship. They want to change the constitution to create 4 jobs. They are telling us they will scrap the National Hospital Insurance Fund. My friend, do you know what National Hospital Insurance Fund has done? We have transformed the health care sector using the National Hospital Insurance Fund. We've moved the contributions from 800 million shillings to 2.5 billion shillings every month. We have transformed it so that today, surgery, which was never part of NHIF, today you can go in for surgery with a limit of 500,000 for somebody who pays 500 shillings a month. You can get 500,000 paid on your bill.
Okay.
We have moved the numbers from 3 million to 6.7 million.
Right.
Our target
will
be to move it to 13 million contributors, which will mean every home will have an NHIF card holder.
Okay. We'll talk about more.
If you say you are going to scrap NHIF and replace it with something called Sijui Universal Fund.
We'll talk about more on the manifesto shortly. Very quickly here, Nyongesa says from Bungoma, that is 242, you are the only ones who see these jobs, talking about the 800,000 jobs that the government is saying are being created annually.
What I can tell Nyongesa is that shortly, Mr. Nyongesa, you will have in your ward, forget about county, in your ward, a hub, where he can access internet. And we have said through the Ajira program, and by the way, we are aggressively training young people, 10,000 every month, and we want to move it to 120,000 every month. We want to train young people so that they can get jobs online. I want to tell Nyongesa just to be patient a little bit. Apart from creating jobs online, this whole program of SGR, all the roads we are doing around the country, the electricity we are connecting around the country, is targeted to making sure that we have a processing zone in every county, an industrial zone in every county. And for your information, we are doing a huge industrial park in Naivasha.
Okay.
That has been misconstrued by people who don't understand dynamics.
I'll come back to the manifesto with education shortly. But these are the questions going on in the campaign trail. Very briefly, we'll finish with education. Posters we've been seeing recently showing that we could be headed for a runoff. Do you believe so?
I don't think so. This election is finalized. It's over.
By what margin do you think you're going to win?
Where I sit. This is a first round win. There will be no runoff.
A first round
win? The people of Kenya, they feel Jubilee. Go to every village, my friend. Mothers, I speak in every corner of Kenya. Mothers who used never to have access to go and give birth in a decent hospital. Today, 1.2 million mothers go to hospital and give birth and walk away.
Okay, but that can whether they feel Jubilee or not can only be tested.
They don't have to pay.
Can only be tested during the election. Yeah?
They feel Jubilee.
But can only be tested during the election.
Every village today has a road construction going on around this country. Every
village, you say?
Every village, my friend. I came from Kitui, Makueni. We were launching a road from a place called Kali to Chambalasi somewhere. You know, the amount of roadworks going on around Kenya, my friend, is unimaginable. Unprecedented.
One of the reasons why your opponents also say, because they also say every part of this country is feeling NASA. And they're also saying they'll beat you in the first round. One of the reasons is what is happening in the South Rift. And if we could have some pictures of NASA's rally there yesterday, political rally. Of course, Isaac Ruto is the Bomet County Governor who fell out with Jubilee. Do you think you are at the same place you are in terms of support in the South Rift region as you were in 2013?
Absolutely. We will win every seat in Bomet.
Look at those figures. What we saw yesterday. NASA was boasting about these crowds. Does this mean anything to you?
Can you show the same crowd of Mwingi Alonso's backyard? If you could.
We would, and we will.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Specifically about this. Does this mean anything to you?
This means that at least we have Isaac Ruto now in NASA, which is, to us, is a good thing. You know, it's democracy. People can make choices. But I want to tell you, we will win every seat in Bomet.
So this does not mean anything to you?
This means very little.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, the election will test that.
And for your information, my friend Hussein, you know, in 2013, we never stepped, not even one meeting, in Busia, in Kakamega, in Vihiga, in many counties. But today, We have serious candidates all over the place. We have serious support all over the place. What I can guarantee you is that, number one, we will win this election in round one. Number two, we will win it by a bigger margin than we did in 2013. Those are two, and we can have this discussion on the 9th.
We will, God willing, if you win.
God willing.
Which I don't know now what if this, because you're saying this, if I can ask you the next question, my question was, are you going to concede if you lose? Because there's a possibility you lose. Are you going to concede, and under what circumstances are you going to concede if you lose?
President Kenyatta is on record. I think that question fits more our competitors than we do. President Kenyatta has said not once, not twice, that he and us are willing to respect the will of the people of Kenya.
Okay.
That we are very clear about. Our competitors are not, because they do not want an election first on the 8th of August. They don't want an election.
They haven't said
that. That is why, the signs. They challenge every step of the way. They've gone to court to challenge the award of ballot papers because they think that by so challenging, the election date is going to move.
No,
these are people who are interested in a coalition government which is obtained out of confusion, not out of winning an election.
They're challenging the ballot paper tender because they say the company that has been given the tender, Al Ghurair, has been given out of connections with State House. And that case is in court.
Did they bring the evidence? They were asked in court to bring the evidence. They didn't have any.
Well, the case is still going on.
They didn't have any. And for your information, they have challenged literally everything. They didn't want the commission that they themselves appointed. We gave in unconstitutionally. We chased people away who are not guilty of doing anything. They challenged the BVR. They went to court. They challenged the issue of the chairman of Electoral Commission announcing results. They challenged the ballot papers.
Is there a problem with that?
They've challenged everything.
Is there a problem with challenging the issue of the Electoral Commission chairman announcing results?
We have the law says it is the chairman of the Electoral Commission. They've gone to court. They've said it should be at the
constituency level.
At the constituency level. We have no problem with it. We have said we can live with that. Okay,
you were credited by some quarters after the first day of the Jubilee nominations of coming in and restoring. I mean, you just steered the process. It was a completely shambles initially. After that, we saw the process working. But then, recently, we are seeing people now talking against you and what really happened in that in those primaries. Let's have a look at the people talking.
To say what you blame him for sabotaging your election, your nomination?
Partly, I may think so. Partly, I
what
may
does
think.
Partly I may think so mean? Yes or no?
Listen to me. It's not a yes or a no, because what you hear from people is that he was involved in running the election.
He was in charge.
I'm saying yes. So that's the point. So really, what happened? He should take blame for what happened.
Alikuwa anasaidiwa na mtu alikuwa anataka kutukata miguu. Si mnajua? Yeye ni project ya nani? Yeye ni project ya Ruto. Hata tuongee vile ukweli iko. Na huyo ndiye alikuwa anamsaidia huko headquarters. Sawa. Lakini tukasema ni sawa.
Ruto ni project ya mtu fulani. Unajua kwa Ruto ni project ya nani? Ruto ni project ya nani? Ruto ni project ya number 2. Na yule mtu anatusumbua katika kaunti ya Meru ni number 2.
I'll ask Munya's question in a different context. But first, what we saw Kabogo say on Jeff Koinange's show, JKL, and what we saw Peter Kenneth say. How do you respond to that?
One, I will not run away from taking responsibility. Yeah. When the president and I decided that we want to take charge of the elections, we had, of course, given it to our technocrats to run the election. There was a problem, and the biggest problem was a decision that was made to print ballot papers on the basis of an assumed turnout of 50%. Right? That was the biggest problem. And because this is our party, we had a chat with the president, and the president asked me, I think we need to take charge of this process. And I did that. I stepped in. We worked with the officials. We called everybody in. We ran the process. The whole process went very well. And let me tell you, without fear of any contradiction, the outcome of the Jubilee nominations reflect the will and the wishes of the Jubilee membership. What you are noticing going on is an exercise in people trying to find a scapegoat for what happened, you know? And that's politics. It happens like that. In fact, I have had occasion to have a chat with Munya, and I'm not afraid to say it on TV. I've had a chat with Munya on TV and on my phone, and I asked Munya, my friend, why are you recruiting me into this problem? And he said, my friend, you know, for me to have a credible fight, I need to up the stakes and blame it on a higher person so that I can look like. That's what he told me, you know. So all these people, instead of fighting their competitors, they want to elevate the war so that they look like they are fighting a bigger person and try and earn some sympathy from whoever they are fighting with.
They were speaking in Mamas before, and we saw this with independent candidates, especially from central Kenya. They were speaking in Mamas saying the deputy president is responsible for making sure the best minds in central Kenya are out of parliament, are out of leadership positions, so that he succeeds in 2022.
How do I succeed with weak people? I'm not a fool, Hussein. I mean, if I want to succeed in 2020, yeah, assuming God willing, you know, we will be there. Yeah. If I want to succeed, I need people who carry the support of the people. Why would I have people who have no support? Then I would be shooting myself, not even in the foot, in the head, right? So, my interest, the interest of our party, the interest of the leadership of Jubilee, is to let the people have their say. In fact, one person said something very interesting. He said, if Anne Waiguru won this nomination, then there was no rigging. Then William Ruto had no say. Because people expected that if it was anything to do with me, the first person I would go for is Anne Waiguru. But what business do I have in people making a decision? A decision they so wish, you know? So much as Peter Munya is complaining there about me, one, he's not a member of Jubilee. I am not the one who told him not to come to Jubilee. Number two, he has told me himself that he has to elevate the war to my level so that it gives him leverage to try and win from looking like an underdog.
I'll ask the issue of Munya in a different context, as I told you. But now that you brought up the issue of Waiguru, we saw you and the President Kirinyaga, and I think this has been seen when Jubilee is going to campaign, and they're Jubilee candidates, and you're advocating for 6-piece kind of voting. Everybody to be voted should be from the Jubilee party. Isn't it unfair for Jubilee party members who have won the Jubilee party primaries not to be supported directly by the president and the deputy president, because there could be other members of other parties who are tied to Jubilee vying for the same seats?
The president has been very categorical, for your information. Even where he has said he doesn't mind other parties, he has been categorical that as a party leader, I support all the candidates of Jubilee. That has been unequivocal.
But in other areas, we saw, when you were in the campaign, in other areas, he said, I mean, okay, you people decide whoever you want to vote will not interfere then, after the crowd got worked up.
You see, but he has made his point. That's why he says, my position is that you support the Jubilee candidate. If you have alternative views, we will live with what your choices are if it comes out. But the president has been very clear that he supports the Jubilee candidate irrespective.
Okay.
And as a party leader, he has an obligation to support the Jubilee candidate.
So Peter Munya spoke against you. Gideon Moi has spoken against you. He's supporting the Jubilee party leader, President Uhuru Kenyatta, but does not want to work with you. So as other members in Kanu, like Lonyangapo and the rest. Even NASA, when they were campaigning recently, and I think you took a chide at Kalonzo on that, they said, Kalonzo said very clearly, another NASA leader, seriously, if you want the deputy president to be president in 2022, please do not vote for them in 20 17. All these people keep saying they don't have a problem with President Uhuru Kenyatta. They have a problem with you.
You know, there is a game called divide and rule. You know, this is a game they have tried all along. We've learned to live with this game. Initially, they started to say, oh, you know, the URP side of the government has been so shortchanged. You know, the people from Central are again at it. They have shortchanged William Ruto. I didn't buy that nonsense, right? When that did not happen, they went back and said, Uhuru Kenyatta is a good man. The bad man is William Ruto. That did not also work out. We have seen these schemes, myself and the president, and we cannot entertain them. We know what they are trying to do. You know, that's why I was asking Kalonzo Musyoka the other day, if it is true that you have no problem with Uhuru Kenyatta, why don't we then vote for Uhuru Kenyatta, and then me and you can sort out whatever minor or whatever differences that we have and have a contest in 2022.
Okay.
You know, many of the people, for your information, who are saying stuff about me are people who believe that I might be a front runner in 2022. Whether you're talking about Gideon Moi, I don't know where he's going with that.
I want to talk about Gideon Moi.
I don't know Peter Munya.
I want to talk about
all these other people talking all over the place.
Okay, but is it right?
But you see,
is it right?
It is okay. It is okay for people to plan ahead. It is okay for them to think, because William Ruto may be a front runner in 2022. Let me try and do something here. Let me try and.
So is it right for Uhuru Kenyatta, on the day that Jubilee were endorsing you and the Uhuru Kenyatta for the presidency, for Uhuru Kenyatta to go and address the KANU delegates a meeting without you? You were at the Bomas of Kenya. Address KANU with Gideon Moi there. Gideon Moi, who has several times said he cannot work with you. What does that say?
No, let me tell you. On all those matters, it was my understanding with the president that all the other, and by the way, it's not just KANU that he went to. He went to KANU, he went to Chap Chap.
But it's KANU that has a problem with you.
He went to all this. You know, many of them have a problem with me. You know, he went to all these parties. But you see, it was our position that while he is attending those other parties that are supportive of Jubilee, I will take charge of Jubilee. He finished with all those other parties and came to Jubilee when we had already made progress in the party. So it wasn't limited to KANU. It was all these other small parties, Labour.
Was it your choice? Would you have wanted to work with KANU under Jubilee, now that they're supporting your presidency?
I think my position is, if KANU was serious in working with us, they should have done what we did with TNA and URP.
And joined the Jubilee Party. Okay, on national cohesion finally, the opposition several times accused you of leading an ethnically imbalanced government. Is there anything you plan to, first how do you respond to that, but going forward, is there anything you plan to change in terms of how you've been doing your appointments when you talk about regional balancing?
Let me tell you, my friend, there are people who want to play the ethnic card in reverse, right? You know, NASA believes the only way to finish tribalism is to change the constitution and create jobs for 3 people. That is very pedestrian. That's very base thinking, right? The Jubilee government, the Jubilee administration, we have every community in our government, number one. You cannot predicate or judge an administration on the basis of who is president and who is vice president. There will always be one president. There will always be one deputy president, whatever configuration you want to make.
But you can try as much as you can to balance the other.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I'm saying you can only have those two. But you know, in their mind,